we'll call the meeting to order. May we have roll call, please?
Ms. Moore,
Here.
Pollock,
Here.
Mr. Wright,
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
Here.
Mr. Gale is absent. Mr. Young is absent.
Thank you. If everyone would check your cell phones and make sure they're turned off, please. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the August 25th, 2015 meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Wright?
motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public hearing. We don't have public comments listed on the agenda. Do we not have a?
You can go ahead and mention it. I'm not quite sure why it's not on there, but you can go ahead and mention it. Bring it up.
Okay, so we'll have public comment first, since we're required to do that before we get to the public hearing. And public comment time is when anyone wishes to speak to the board about any item that's not up for a public hearing tonight. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. The next item on the agenda is public hearing for resolution number 3070-15, the special exception use order number 199-15. Do we have the applicant here? Little John Engineering? State your name and address for the record.
Yes, George Huddleston with Little John, 1615 Edgewater Drive in Orlando. Here tonight on behalf of the developer. This proposed project is an express oil change on Alafaya, not far at all from here. The existing zoning on the site is C2, within which an auto service station is a special exception use, which hence the special exception use order application we have here today. The parcel in question is currently the RV parking lot in between the bank and Tires Plus. The landowner has gone through a lot split to carve out 0.71 acres on the front side of that parcel where this project is proposed. This project includes roughly 4,600 square foot building. It includes oil change bays and auto service center bays, 9 in total. We have obviously required parking that we're providing on the site, meeting code. We're meeting actually all elements of code, including a few going above and beyond. We have an increased landscape buffer on the north side, which brings all of our landscape buffers for the site to the A2 designation. And also, something else just a little unique about this site, we're proposing an enclosed, it'll actually be a roofed enclosure for any tires, where tires on site will be stored, just to get those out of sight. So we feel as though it's compatible with the surrounding land uses. There's several auto service centers in the area. I mentioned the Tires Plus immediately next door. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant? Thanks. May we hear from staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request for the local planning agency to recommend adoption of resolution number 3070-15, approving a special section use order number 199-15 to allow a motor vehicle repair and maintenance, no body work, use within a commercial C2 zoning district. The applicant is Little John Engineering Associates, and the property owner is EOCF Incorporated. Section 4.10, Table 4.1 of the City's Land Development Code provides the type of motor vehicle uses that may be permitted only with a special exception use order in accordance with LDC Section 3.3D. Motor vehicle repair and maintenance, no body work, is permissible in a C2 zoning district with a special exception use order. A special exception use order shall only approve the use. The subject property is located at 1140 Alafaya Trail. The subject property consists of approximately 0.71 acre. It is designated as commercial on the future land use map and commercial C2 on the city's official zoning map. EOCF Incorporated proposes to construct a 4,590 square foot motor vehicle repair and maintenance shop named Oviedo Express Oil Change. A total of 2,695 square feet will be used for the service area, 1,330 square feet will be used for the oil change area with 9 service bays, and 565 square feet will be an air-conditioned area. Previously, the parcel was used as a secure facility for vehicle private parking and storage consisting of 1.97 acres. The subject property encompasses one parcel, which recently has gone through a non-statutory subdivision, which is also known as a lot split process, creating the subject lot for the proposed use. The lot split became effective on June 25, 2015, and the remaining parcel consists of 1.26 acres, and the subject parcel will share a right-of-way easement. The purpose of the Special Exception Use Order 199-15 is to approve the vehicle repair and maintenance no body work use to ensure the use will only be permitted on the subject property and not adversely impact properties and land uses within the immediate vicinity. For the Special Exception Use Order, the applicant must address 7 criteria. Staff reviewed the application and found the following. Criteria A, land use compatibility. This is where the applicant shall demonstrate the special exception use, including its proposed scale, intensity, traffic generating characteristics, and offset impacts are compatible with adjacent land uses and will not adversely impact land use. The proposed motor vehicle repair and maintenance no body work use building floor area ratio is 0.15. The properties to the west, east, and north of the subject property are designated with a commercial future land use designation and a C2 zoning district. The property to the south is designated with a planned unit development, future land use, and PUD zoning district. To the north is the Tire Plus Lube and Oil Change motor vehicle repair and maintenance, no body work. To the east is the remaining private parking and storage. To the west is State Road 434 and Oviedo Shopping Plaza. To the south is Bank of America Bank and Retention Pond and Alafaya Family Dentistry. Criteria B, sufficient site size, adequate site specifications, and infrastructure to accommodate the proposed use. The site shall be of sufficient size to accommodate urban design amenities such as screening, buffers, landscaping, open space, off-street parking, efficient internal traffic and pedestrian circulation. Infrastructure and similar site improvements need to mitigate against potential adverse impacts of the proposed special exception use. The subject property is approximately 0.7 acres, thus the site size and shape are sufficient to support a motor vehicle repair and maintenance. The applicant is required to provide a Type A1 buffer yard along the north side of the subject property. Type A1 buffer yard requires a minimum width of 10 feet and a minimum placement of large trees at the rate of 3 trees per 100 linear feet of buffer yard. The applicant proposes to provide a landscaping buffer that exceeds the required Type A1 buffer on the north side of the property. The applicant proposes to provide A2 buffers exceeding the A1 buffer by providing a minimum of 3 understory trees per 100 linear feet, in addition to the required 3 large canopy trees per 100 linear feet. The applicant will provide the required Type A buffers on the east, west, and north sides of the property. The Type A buffer will consist of 3 large canopy trees and 3 understory trees per 100 linear feet. The applicant will also provide a pedestrian connection from Alafaya to the proposed site. The city consultant determined there is sufficient capacity to accommodate the proposed 370 trips without adverse impact to the city's transportation network. The size of the subject property will allow for an increased buffer yard to the north and appropriate buffers along east-west property lines, landscaping, and 34% open space to the required 30% open space. Criteria C, proper use of mitigative techniques. Staff recommends that the following conditions are approved with Special Exception Use Order number 199-15. A Type A2 buffer shall be installed on the north side of the property line adjacent to the retention pond. A crosswalk shall be approved for pedestrian access connection from Alafaya Trail to the building. For criteria D for hazardous waste, The proposed use is not anticipated to produce hazardous waste on the site. And then for criteria E, compliance and applicable laws and ordinances, the applicant will comply with all federal, state, county, and city laws and ordinances. Criteria F, commercial use in residential districts. This does not apply since the proposed property is in a commercial C2 zoning district. Criteria G, additional criteria applicable to specific land uses. The applicant is prepared to provide any additional information as required by the city upon request. Resolution number 3070-15 will be considered by City Council on Monday, October 5th, 2015. It is recommended that LPA recommend adoption of resolution number 3070-15, approving special exception use order number 199-15. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for questions.
Thank you. Are there questions of staff?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Pollack?
the item D, hazardous waste, what kind of analysis was done on that? I mean, this is a mechanic shop with all sorts of chemicals and everything else. What kind of mitigation is there for hazardous waste there?
If I could have the applicant, please.
You state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is John Davis. I work for Express Oil Change and Service Center. Address is 1880 South Park Drive, Birmingham, Alabama. And oil is, which is the vast majority of the chemical that's stored on site, with typically around 3 to 3,500 gallons in total, is not classified as hazardous waste. And so that's the majority of it. Now, there is WD-40 and small cans and that type stuff, but nothing that would be in volume enough to be considered hazardous waste.
Any, like, brake fluid, all that stuff, that's not considered?
Just like your stand. No, it is in certain quantities, but not what we're storing.
I have a follow-up, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Are they going to be using any of that clean chemical on site?
Which clean?
It's called clean, K-L-E-E-N.
I'm not aware of that. I don't know.
That's most shops have that to clean a lot of their parts that are coming off the cars, especially on brakes and whatnot.
We have parts cleaners, but I'm not aware of any specific chemical.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Right?
For staff, we're requiring the A2, that's one of the conditions that we put on, we've asked for an A2 buffer, which gives the understory trees. In addition, the buffer's still 10 foot. Question I have, though, is that our code basically says that any buffer yard is restricted to certain things can't be in there. In this case, the retention pond can only take up 25% of the buffer yard. In this case, it just graphically appears that it's probably closer to 75% if you go from the top of the pond to the entire length of the buffer yard. So I'm just questioning why no one's really questioned whether or not that is an allowable use inside the buffer yard.
When they get into this site planning stage, this only approves the use. It does not approve the site itself. So they're going to have to come back before the city with site planning aspects, which would include how much of the property, how much of the buffer is with, or how much of the retention pond is within the buffer. Those type of questions will come into play during site plan. This is just a conceptual plan. It's not something that is being approved tonight. What's attached to the resolution is the actual special exception use order. The site plan is not attached to the resolution. It's only an exhibit of the memo. So, and we spell out in the order that this is not site plan approval, and it's only approving the use. So those issues regarding the details of the site will be discussed during the site plan stage.
Okay. Thank you. As long as you're aware of it.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll open it up for public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public hearing. What's the board's pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Wright?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of resolution number 3070-15.
Is there a
Special
second?
exception use order.
Second.
Lopez? Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Mr. Pollak?
I'm sorry, I just had a question. In the write-up here, there were some items,
I'm sorry, are you referring to the staff report?
Yeah, the staff
Okay.
report. There were some items in the analysis that staff recommended. Are all those recommendations in the actual resolution?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so we don't have to add any of that to
Yeah,
the
They
the
are. It's
motion.
with your packet as
Okay.
well.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Wright?
since we're talking about those, that one thing I noticed in the staff report, especially item B, it says a crosswalk shall be provided. In the actual, the resolution, the order itself, it's crosswalks plural, so you may want to just fix that so they're
Okay.
not required to put any more than one. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion
Aye.
carries.
Is that a, did
This item
nay.
will be considered by the city council.
you get the count right? A for him?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear a nay. Mr. Lopez, was that you? Patty, will you let the? Okay, you got it? Okay. Motion still passes. This item will be considered by the city council on Monday, October 5th at 6:30 in these chambers. Good luck. Okay, the next item on our agenda is typically discussion items.
And I just want to make note that Mr. Sheridan was left off of roll call, but he's here. For some reason, it's not on the computer system. So he is here voting. Here.
Okay.
And Mr. McHale arrived late.
Okay, you've got that.
The fact that he was sitting next to you really didn't picture that.
It took me a second. I was like, wait.
He's just not here.
Are there any other discussion items?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Future meeting dates are October 13th, October 27th, and November 10th. Deborah, do we know of any items or know that we're not having a meeting on one of those nights?
We don't know of any items at this point, but it doesn't mean that we won't have one. We just don't know of any at this point. We don't have anything as of now.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Wright?
I am tentatively out of the country from November 10th through the 22nd, so that may be a conflict. I'll keep you appraised.
11/10 through
The 22nd.
22nd. Okay, and as always, any of you know that you're not going to be available, be sure and let Patty know. Okay, if there's nothing else, we have a motion to adjourn.
So maybe.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. And stand adjourned.
I can make my granddaughter's vote.